Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So here I am yet again. In this video we are going to talk, review and react to episode 2 of Last of Us. I have to say I was on edge of my seat watching this episode. It was amazing and epic. I literally felt the suspense start from the moment the episode began. So let's talk about how and what happens in the episode. In this episode, once again, Joel, Ellie are the main characters. However, we get to see Tess play a bigger part in this. Tess is Joel's girlfriend, I believe, and she plays a major role in this episode, as you will see. So to start with, it is set in a scene in Indonesia where there's a lot of disruptions going on, and at this point there's a military general and he calls in a professor of micrology to come in and test a dead body. The professor is walking into a room which is kind of like a cold medical room. It's all white and it's really quiet, really airy, and all you can see is this woman lying on a table that she needs to test. And as she's walking up to this woman, you can feel the build-up of the suspense, as like you're thinking, is she gonna wake up? What's going to happen? So she has a bullet wound in her head and also a wound on her leg. Literally goes up to test her wound on her leg, which is like a similar wound to what Ellie has when she's bit. However, when the doctor sort of scrapes the wound and opens it up, it is nothing like a normal wound. So there's no blood. She's kind of taken back, so you can see her sort of a little shocked, and she takes a step back and you think, okay, what's happening now? She then goes on to test the woman's mouth. So she goes in with these kind of like forceps or tweezer type things where she drags something out of her mouth and these tendrils come up. What's shocking is that they're still moving. They're kind of like worms or things, some sort of insecty type thing. And yeah, at that point you can see the shock, the change in the professor's body language. You can see the way the professor's reacted, so it doesn't look good. So whatever she's tested and whatever she's found out, she's obviously very shocked by it. My heart is literally pounding as the professor goes into the room and she tests the woman, especially when she opens her mouth. At this point I'm really excited to know what's happening. I'm really gripped by this scene. So we then get to see this conversation between the military officer and the professor where she's sitting down. You can clearly see that her hands are shaking. She's obviously been really nerved by what she's seen, something unusual for her. The military officer is obviously talking about vaccinations, talking about cures, whereas the professor you'll see will say there is no cure, there is no vaccine. And she's really shook. The fungi is obviously involved because at this point she just says the solution is to bomb. So for me, this part was the most captivating. It kind of got me to want to know more. The curiosity was killing me, thinking, oh my god, what's happening next? So we then get taken back to this scene where Joel and Tess are sitting and waiting for Ellie to wake up. You can tell that Tess and Joel are kind of anxious because they know that Ellie's been bit. She hasn't turned over the time that she's been with them. It's been over 3 weeks and they're still waiting with like the guns in their hands, thinking, is she going to wake up? Is she going to be something completely different when she wakes? However, when Ellie wakes, she's absolutely normal. You get to see her eating a normal chicken sandwich, which is unusual in a drama that is so apocalyptic. A slight humor added to the seriousness of the situation. I feel in this kind of scene, Tess is very curious to know why Marlene did not kill Ellie. For some reason, like obviously she's survived this so far, so this has got Tess very curious, whereas Joel is not really that interested. He just wants to go get the battery, go and rescue his brother, and that's his main motive. Whereas Tess is a little bit more inquisitive. She kind of questions Ellie to why she wasn't killed, what the background was. So we get to know a little bit about why Ellie is still alive. I feel like Ellie is actually the key to the cure, and you will find this out later on. I do like the way that they brought the scene together with There's a little bit of humor, a little bit of sarcasm going on between Ellie and Joel. You can start to see a build-up of a relationship. So from the conversation between Ellie and Tess, we find out Firefly camp to the west of the country, where they are looking to find cures. There's lots and lots of doctors there in a base camp that are trying to research and trying to find a cure for this fungi disease. And Ellie is supposed to go there as she is immune to this disease. She has been bit, but nothing has happened to her yet. So this is why Ellie is being transported, or Joel and Tess are on a journey to take her to this Firefly camp so that they can actually do something about this fungi that is evolving, that is developing, and that is causing this much disruption to the world. So from there onward, we get to see Joel, Ella, and Tess both going on a journey towards the Firefly camp. And on their journey, we get to see lovely sets. So we get to see like lots of different scenery. As with the game, you get to see a lot of skyscrapers, a lot of subway settings. However, in the episode, we get to see something completely different. So we get to see Tess and Joel walk up to this big building. This big building is actually a huge hotel. Inside, you get to see how everything's destroyed, how much of a big hotel this must have been. Ellie is really curious about the items in it. We find out that she can't swim in this part, as there's a lot of water, so kind of the hotel's gone underwater, and you kind of feel the suspense because you think, is there going to be something in there? Are they going to encounter anything? So at this point, I'm super excited. I'm thinking, I really want to know how this plays out. I'm really liking so far the actual setting of the scenes. It's very different to the beginning of the episode. We feel the relationships are a little bit more built to know the character's personality. I feel like Ellie is shining a little bit more in this episode. We didn't get to speak or hear of her much in the first one, and this one she's a little bit more talkative. There's a lot more of Ellie shown in this clip, and you get to see what her actual character's like, and she's quite humorous and interesting to watch, alongside Joel, who's quite hard and quite like reserved, doesn't really like to talk much. He just likes to get on with things. As we follow them on the journey, they get to this hotel. They know that they can't get out the other way, and this is the way forward for them. At one point, we've got Tess who's had to climb up to find out a way for them to get out. And we see this scene, he like shakes me up a little, where you see all hundreds and hundreds of these infected lying on the floor. You're thinking, are they gonna get up any moment? And you get Tess explaining how these dead infected people are actually connected through their tendrils, through the way their brains are working, and that they connect from like even 4 miles. So like they have this kind of deep connection. They go into this museum, which again, dark, a bit more quiet. They have to watch their steps a little because some of the stuff is like the stairs are a little bit broken. At this point, I'm like on edge again. I'm thinking it's quiet, it feels like something's going to happen, and at some point you hear this kind of like weird clicky kind of noise. You thought, okay, any minute now something's coming. And what I really like about this scene is that you get to see the clickers for the first time, and it literally comes out and it's just this big monstrous creature, and I'm in awe and impressed, but at the same time scared. Like it really was how I'd imagined it to be. It was very like, it was monstrous, like this creature was monstrous. But yet, if you think about how the drama created all these costumes, it was awesome because they are so real looking. This must have taken a lot of work in the costumes, a lot of effort to kind of walk how they walked, and just how they made them is just so cool. Looking at this part of the drama really made me understand why people like to play the game, because I feel like when you're playing a game, I bet you're feeling like you are that person, because at some point when that clicker came right up to Joel and Ellie and literally was face to face with them, I really felt like I was Ellie in that part, because I was so scared. Like, I was holding my breath thinking, is this clicker going to just connect with her? Is he going to bite her? What's going to happen? What's the next stage? So for me, seeing the clicker was the actual best part of this drama. I think the drama did a great justice to the game. So we move on, and Joel and the group, Tess and Ellie, are all on their way again after fighting the clickers to find the Firefly camp. And they arrive at this destination and they see lots of these soldiers dead. And at this point you think, oh wow, like, okay, these are the people that Joel and Tess were supposed to hand Ellie over to. So this was their responsibility done. They would get what they want, which was the battery. Then they could go and look for Joel's brother. Now when they see all these dead people, they don't know what to do. At this point Joel's like, let's just go back home. And this scene for me is like, again, very real. Like, I feel in this scene you can see Tess acting differently. She's like, it isn't my home, I'm not going home. Ellie straight away understands and recognizes why she's being how she is. It's because she's been bit. And this is the realistic part of the drama, where again Joel is tested with his relationships. So it feels like everyone that's close to Joel he loses everyone that's close to him, and at this point he's at like, okay, he's back, he's shocked. But Joel is kind of the type of person that kind of gets on with things, because we know at this point that Tess has been bit. Tess is literally wanting to sacrifice herself and get Joel and Ellie away from this scene, so she literally throws gasoline everywhere. Joel is like just standing there and just looking, and it doesn't seem like he knows what to do. And at this point Tess just says, save who you can, and by this she means obviously Ellie. So he looks deep into her eyes. You can tell that you can't really tell Joel's emotion at this point. I feel like he's learnt to hide his emotions. So because you're beginning to know his character and the fact that he's had a loss of his daughter, he's very emotionless. You can't see his face show what he feels, and this is where you think, okay, how is he going to take this loss with regards to Tess? He looks into her eyes, they look at each other, and then he literally picks Ellie up and he goes. Yeah, we see the scene where Joel and Ellie leave. So for me, this was the heart-stopping moment where Tess is just standing there trying to ignite this lighter, and all these dead infected people are kind of coming into the museum, and there's one that's actually sort of coming towards her. He's obviously attracted towards her, and you can see that as she is looking at him, she is like frightened, but at the same time there's some sort of connection happening between the infected and Tess. And then he walks up to her and they kiss, and then there's these tendrils that kind of connect them, and that was just so weird to see. And yet it just showed how these infected were so connected with their brain. The doctor was talking about how this fungi takes over the brain. So Tess is willing to sacrifice herself. She is still having this takeover of her brain. She manages to ignite the lighter and cause this big bang explosion. So you see this towards the end of the drama series. It is heart-wrenching because you can see Joel turn back. You can't feel his emotions or see his emotions, but you can tell that he's obviously lost someone else that's close to him, and he's on this journey now with just Ellie, who he doesn't really care about at this point, and the aim is to kind of save her to potentially find a cure for this fungi or disease that has sort of taken over the world. I feel like this actual episode was so epic. It was full of adventure, full of action. It was very different to the first episode where we get to know the characters mainly. we don't get to see an insight into these characters as deeply as we do now. Like I said, I feel like Ellie shined a lot in this episode. I felt like we got to know her loads more. She was very impressive. I liked the way she was kind of bantering, the sarcasm that she was giving Joel. You could see there was some sort of bond being built between the two at this point. So the end, where this big explosion happens, it kind of leaves you thinking how and what Joel is going to do next. Is he going to do what Tess wanted him to do, and that is to save Ellie and take her for the cure? Or is he going to go in his own way and just leave her? The next scene that took me back a little was all these hundreds of dead infected people, and you kind of see for the first time the surreal moment of what's actually happening in the world, and you think, wow, so it is just these people here that are surviving. Are there others like Joel and Ellie that are surviving, and is there anyone else there that is immune to this fungi? What I like about this episode is full on. It's basically, there's always something happening in each scene. Although each scene is different, it's connected somehow to each other. So I hope so far you enjoyed my review of this episode on The Last of Us, and if you want to see more, then please leave a comment in the box below. I hope to see you guys in one of my next videos, so bye for now.